Alright, here we go. Part 2, let's put our matte material onto this ground area over here so that it can receive shadows. So let's look at our material window, and in here we're going to just compile a little shader. So let's go to Materials, Arnold, and Utility, Surface and Matte. So Materials, Arnold, Surface and Matte. And into this we're going to plug another material. This time it's a map, Arnold, and from here we're going to go into shadow map. So maps, Arnold, surface, shadow maps. And we're basically going to plug that into the color channel. Then inside the shadow map itself, just make sure you've activated it. Go over to where it says diffuse intensity and just change that number to 1. Okay. And in a second we're going to apply that to a ground plane. So let's just make ourselves a little ground plane over here to receive some shadows. That's a bit of a... do that again, sorry. I'll just move my materials over to the side for a second, just while I get my ground plane sorted. There we go. And bring it across to about there. That feels okay. Alright, so just going to apply the material that we just created. There it is. Apply that to that object. I'm also going to need a object to cast a shadow, so let's put ourselves something like a little torus knot. It's kind of, oh, that's a torus. I was thinking more like a torus knot. There we go. So it's going to give us a little bit of a profile. Okay, that'll do for now. Okay, so we've set up the material. Let's just look at our settings. So let's go into our render settings. Let's have a quick look at our Arnold renderer, and basically inside our sampling and ray depth I'm running at something like 3, 2 and 3 for camera, AI, diffuse and specular, so you'll probably be something similar to that, I suspect. We'll also look at down here where it says background, backplate, and make sure the source is scene environment. Okay, so it's got to say scene environment as opposed to the other options. Okay, and let's go into our environment panel. So that's 8 again. Just a quick review of what we got going in here. 8.2 EV, and we've got our environment map sitting in the background there. Okie doke, we need a light. So let's put ourselves a Arnold light in the scene. And I like to do this from a front view first of all, so just drag it in like so. I'm going to use a quad light. Okay, so I've got my quad light coming in, and I've not at this point changed any of the shadow, so I'm just going to go, just to check the lighting, I'm just going to do a quick I'll just go into the environment panel to make it quick, just check it in there. A little bit speedier normally. Takes a second. 8.2 EV, that looks just roughly right. Okay, so let's have a quick look. Let's do a quick F9. It's going to take a little bit of time, but it's coming through. Sorry, it's on the other window. I'll just drag it across. Here it comes. Okay, so it's going to take a little while for these shadows just to smooth out a little bit. But you can see that the material that we set up, the matte material that we set up, is gathering the shadows. And we're seeing the image plane underneath that we'd expect. We've got our simple object casting those shadows, and the nice thing about this, which was the next thing we'll do, is we'll move that singular light around, and it's going to imitate the direction of the sun's shadows. Okay, so I don't need to let that run any further, I don't think. I can just get to the window, just cancel that for now. Okay, and so I can keep an eye on what's going on here. I'm just going to use a different view setup. So I'm going to go into, where's my viewports? Viewport configuration, and I want to go for that layout there, I think. Okay, this gives me a chance to move the light source while seeing the effect over here. So I'm going to change this view to Arnold Active Shade. Okay, now I can grab that light and get a sense of its corresponding influence on the shadows. We can add additional lights that don't necessarily create shadows but do give kind of luminosity to the environment or the object that we're interested in illuminating. But what I'm trying to do is just cast those shadows in such a way that they would reflect roughly what the sun is doing already in the scene. So I'm kind of looking to replicate that angle that the sun's got already in the scene, and I can just grab that and let's see, it's coming in like so. I think it's a hard one to tell actually, because of the shape of the torus doesn't quite let me imitate the sun's direction, but that's not bad. Okay, so I'll go with that. I'll disable the active shade. Just look at my render settings one more time. And I'll go to Common Renderer. Currently it's at 3408, 4608 by 3456, which is exactly the original size of the file that we're using in the background. So what can I do here just to speed things up? I guess I could drop it down, but I want to keep that aspect locked. And therefore, if I type in 2, 3, 4, there we go. Just get a slightly smaller renderer, but I did lock the image aspect before I did that, so it should be a little bit quicker. Okay, remember I didn't put a material onto the torus, probably should have done in truth. But you know, it was basically just to show the matte material, or the shadow matte material in operation, catching those shadows. And the shadows look a little bit black to me, so I would go back to that matte material and just look at the opacity a little bit. So I drop the opacity. I think what I'll do is I'll just pause that. That's definitely a little bit quicker. And this time round, I'll go from a view area to render to a region, and the region will just be this section here. That's all I'm really interested in updating every time. I don't need to waste time on anything else. Okay, now column and materials one more time, and shadow color, shadow opacity is at 1, and you know, I can drop that down. Let's try it down to about 0.8. Okay, and let's try another render. Okay, 0.8 is a little bit too light, I think, but it's getting closer to the weight of the shadows in the scene. It's not too far off the weight of the shadows that are already existing in the scene. Okay, now further down the road we can do additional things. We can bring a HDRI lighting solution to the environment as well. so that if we bring in particular materials onto that object or any other object, the materials of that object can reflect environmental colour and light. Again, it's just about refining the relationship between the synthetic object within 3ds Max and the JPEG that we got from our original photograph. But it works pretty straightforwardly. It works. We have our shadow map. We have an object which is scaled and moving in relationship to the perspective of that photograph. Okay, I'll leave it there. I think it's nice and short.